Good morning. Caroline, the original dragon lady here. I'm doing something a bit different today. I'm talking to Naz Ashun, who is an author, a writer, and all that kind of stuff. Naz will introduce herself to you in a minute. We will, of course, talk dragons, spirituality, but we're also going to be looking at self-publishing versus traditional publishing. So it's going to be a bit of a longer one today. My videos are normally about 20-25 minutes long tops, so it might be a bit longer today. So I hope you enjoy it, and we're going to just chat like we normally do, because when Naz and I start nattering, all kinds of things come up, and so we're going to share a normal conversation that we have, we're going to share with you. So hi Naz, how are you?
Oh, hi Caroline, thank you for having me on this YouTube interview. Really great to be here with you.
Fab. So tell me a little bit, like, obviously I know who you are because we've been working together on and off for a couple of years, but obviously my crew, my dragon tribe don't know you, so please share.
Oh, well, as you say, one of the things that I'm a writer, and I'm an author of 2 books. I have another book coming out next year, and I'm also a broadcaster, so I really love to find out about people's stories, and particularly authors and their books, because for me books and writing is my passion. And the other passion that I have is spirituality. For I know, for want of a better phrase, the belief or my experience of a world that is bigger than the one that we can see, feel, hear and touch. And in particular, animism, my belief again, and my experience of plants and animals and everything within our world and beyond has a sentient life force and a sentient being. So that's been very much my pathway. It wasn't always so. I just found myself down this pathway itself, and like everybody else, continuing to experience, learn and grow. It's a really exciting journey.
Fab. And it's funny, isn't it, when you start on the spiritual path particularly, you can disappear down rabbit holes, which I did at the weekend. And you probably saw my post on Facebook regarding chi, spirit and soul. And I'd always thought of chi and soul being the same thing, until my guides told me no, they were 2 different things. And then I was Googling, and I got myself in such a pickle. And people's opinions are so varied, aren't they, on spirit and soul and chi and prana and life force and all that kind of thing. And it's just interesting that you never ever stop learning. I've been in this game 25 years, and you never ever stop learning, do you? It doesn't matter who you are as a teacher or as a guru or a mentor or anything else, you never ever stop learning. Now, I didn't know until you said that just then, that animism, so every living thing, so does that include trees, flowers, grass?
Absolutely. The life force, you're talking about life force.
Yeah.
Life force is in absolutely everything. And if we look at it from a scientific point of view, I see it as the breaking down of atoms and protons and neutrons. Okay. So there are different ways of experiencing the world. So life force runs through everything.
Absolutely. Everything has an energy, doesn't it?
Yes.
Dogs, cats, people, we all have an energy. So a plant will have its chi or its prana running through it. Now, does it have would you say that, we'll talk about plants just for a sec, would you say that plants have a soul?
I think everything is linked to consciousness, and
soul
as consciousness, a fragment of consciousness. So I think we are all part of a consciousness. We're all fragments of a consciousness.
I like that. So a couple of days on from my guys, what do you think? Because I'm disappearing down rabbit holes. I've now got a whole nother.
But isn't it the fun thing that we all have a unique perspective on
totally
life, spirituality, what it's all about.
Absolutely.
And I think we're always on the path of spirituality. We're spiritual, you know, we are bigger than our personalities and this physical body that we currently are, part of us is inhabiting. And I say part of us because I feel our soul is infinite. You can't measure it, you can't look at it inside. So I just feel that we're always
goes on.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
So on the soul, and this only just occurred to me. Now our chi goes through our being, so it follows our meridians, goes through our chakras. We can ground with our chi and all that kind of stuff. We can go up with our chi. So where does our aura fit into that? What's your opinion on that?
Again, my opinion of that, the aura, again, it's energy. And so it's the different layers of energy. They call it the subtle bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And the bits that we don't see of ourselves. And part of the if I think about our chakras, they're portals that allow life energy through to permeate our physical body.
Yeah.
And when you go through them, it will take you to a different aspect of yourself that possibly you can't see, feel, hear, or touch, or maybe you'll start to get a sense of it.
Yeah.
But also, we as human beings have an electrical charge.
Yeah.
Part of our aura, I think, has part of that electrical charge. But I feel there are other aspects of it. The aura around us is the ether and life force, and aspects of us and soul that appear in lots of different ways.
Okay, so you think there's like a link in our aura, like a link between our chi and our soul? Is that have I understood that properly?
I think what I feel is it's generated by life force. So everything is generated. You know, for our bodies to be moving, we've got to have the spark of life force in there.
Of course. We'd go keel over, wouldn't we?
Exactly. We won't be dead, but our bodies will be.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So, and like you, I'm learning. My viewpoint could change tomorrow, because
of course.
I think part of the things about rabbit holes is our mind's desperation to have the answer, to have the truth.
Yes.
And I don't think there is the truth. There is a truth.
Yes.
And I know people talk about the universal truths, but I wonder how much of that comes from mind and less from soul.
Absolutely, because the dragons talk about this, because we like to be very logical, ordered, methodical, and we like to have things like in boxes and orderly. And of course, if we're doing that, we're talking mind, we're talking ego, and then we tend to overcomplicate things, which I'm very good at doing that. And the dragons, they have a little saying, "Keep it simple, stupid." And it is if we can simplify it and be, and know when we're in our mind. The dragons have taught me to know when I'm in my mind and when I'm getting what is more of a universal lesson understanding, if you like, for want of a better phrase. I have a different, there's a completely different energy behind that when the dragons are teaching me something or imparting something to me, and my guides. But when they're imparting something to me, it's got a very different energy and feel to it that is more of a universal truth or my truth to a situation than maybe somebody else's, or going into ego. I'm learning, and it's only probably in recent years that I've really nailed that. I've been aware of it for a long time, but it's only in recent years I've started to really understand now, and I do a lot of my work through written channeling. And if I'm not sure, I'll write, "Oh, is that ego?" When I go back and revisit it at a later day, if I'm doing something for the book, the Living with Dragons book, I will then go back into there and see whether or not it's accurate, whether it was at that point ego. Because it's about trying to be authentic within our own life, isn't it? With what we are, how we're living, and what we're sharing with others. It's about, for me, it's about trying to be being as authentic and as true as you can possibly be on your path at any given time.
I think yes, but I also think that's really challenging for us. I'm hearing you talk about the ego, and for me, ego isn't a bad thing. It's part, the way that I am, and this has just come to me, my idea about ego, my experience, my thoughts about ego, is ego comes from the thoughts, they come from the mind. Ego is a construct of the mind.
Yeah.
And it's a way that we have developed in our human counterparts,
Yeah.
to operate in a physical world. And part of that will be our enculturation, our belief system, our core programming,
Yeah.
our you know, and that's how our ego has been constructed. It's not a bad thing, and there are aspects of ego that are really important as we walk through a physical world,
Of
because
course.
this is where we're operating at this, well, part of us is operating on this planet, in our bodies, in this timeline. And there are aspects and elements of ego that can keep you safe, yet recognizing we are more than ego, or more than our, I don't want to even call it ego, I think more than our core programming. But
maybe more than our conscious thoughts, maybe.
yeah, I think definitely. And actually having an ego has taught me about compassion.
Really?
Oh, totally. Totally.
Okay.
You know, compassion comes from, you know, it's a non-judgmental looking, it's about acceptance, and we all operate from ego, and particularly when we are upset, when we are uncertain, when we feel challenged. And I think, you know, particularly in the moment that we're in, which is the moment of the pandemic and COVID-19, all of our fears, and they're not rational, but they're there. And I think that I really feel that it it helps us to be more compassionate with ourselves and with each other when we're aware that coming from that place of ego isn't serving us. It's an automatic response it's our core programming. We're like computers.
Yeah. Yeah, see, I think of that as coming from a point of fear. But yeah. Oh, hello, Naz, where did you go?
Oh, I'm right here. Strange. Yeah, I'm back. Strange goings on. Yeah.
Yeah, I often think of it as fear. But yeah, but the thing is, an ego and fear and ego are so like that, aren't they? They're so similar, or they are one of the same thing.
Yeah, and I think the other thing about ego is it constructs an identity. Ego is about an identity that has been constructed, either we've constructed, we've been constructed, and we've constructed this idea of who we are.
Yes.
When actually it is an idea. It is not all of who we are.
No, it's not the completeness of it, is it?
It isn't. No, and we forget how magnificent we are. We're these beings with a soul that's connected to so much more, and sometimes our idea of who we are is not always accurate.
No, it's funny how we perceive ourselves and others perceive us, isn't it? Is this of course, we could talk about this one forever, couldn't we? Because it's a massive topic. Now, the other thing I did want to talk about, are we done with that one?
We are.
Cool. The other thing I wanted to talk about was publishing, because you and I are on an exciting journey. I met Naz, for those of you that don't know, if you're still with us, of course, for those of you that don't know, I met Naz, was it 2017 or 18, Naz? I completely lost track.
We met, now this is where I believe your dragons came in. We met in 2000 and, was it 2018?
Yeah, it was at Yule. I think it was 2018. It was 2018. Because we met at Yule, didn't we? Because I was launching these.
It was actually, wasn't it before that? Was it the summer solstice?
No, I wasn't ready.
It was the winter solstice.
Wayne.
Yeah.
And I wasn't with Tyrus was he wasn't having problems with them, but he had other commitments.
Right.
So we were put back because
Okay.
it wasn't just me he was working for, and so we ended up missing the deadline that I wanted to hit the Sawain. So we ended up launching at Yule.
Yes. Yeah.
Now I've just discovered an indie publisher because I didn't know it was called that. So I'm a self-publisher of these, and we met by I love the way the universe works, by just sheer chance. I was doing signings and flogging my wares and introducing people to these because they were completely new to the market, and in strolled Naz.
I did, but I didn't even, we were just, we had gone to celebrate the solstice with some friends, and we were on the way to London, via Avebury, and my partner, we weren't even I wasn't even going to go into the shop. I saw the sign and it kind of, kind of glowed like, oh, I really want to, but we don't have time. And on the way to the car park, my husband just like, yeah, I just need to go to the loo. And it's like, okay, well, you go and I can go in. And that's exactly where and when we met. And I recall asking you to come on I was presenter of the Outer Limits radio show at Swindon 105. And I said, look, I'd love to do an interview. And that's how we met.
So I did my first proper radio interview with you in was it February? Because you went off.
It was the February.
You went off in January on your ecstatic dance thing, didn't you? And you were somewhere globetrotting, weren't you? Where were you?
Costa Rica in January.
Yeah, I remember waking you up. I remember phoning. I was out with Molly. It was bitterly cold, and I was out with Molly. I thought, oh, I must ring Naz. And bless you, you hadn't long got back home. You were still hideously jet lagged. I woke you up at 9:30 in the morning. I felt so bad about that. And then, well, the rest history, really, isn't it? Well, almost. Because I did my first radio show with you, and I've been on Swindon 105 a couple of times since then.
Yes.
No, I did it a couple of weeks ago, actually. Obviously, distance. I did it on a phone call with Chloe and Peggy Sue. So that went out because it's a Wednesday evening at 10 o'clock, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And I no longer present on the show, of course.
No,
but Peggy Sue and Chloe, bless them, came in and saved the day by they are now the presenters of the Outer Limits.
Is it Radio Swindon 105.5?
Swindon 105.5, yeah. So and it's
go on.
Yeah, I was just saying, and what was really amazing is that you had your first interview with me, and then there was a really strange occurrence when you came in again, and it was March last year.
It was just before the London Book Show, wasn't it?
Yeah, just before the London Book Fair. Yeah, that was a few days before.
Yes, and Naz said to me that she was going up. She was going to somebody you knew, because you, again, being in the publishing industry and knowing, my God, so many people. And so I'm going to take my tracking cards up to the London, if I think I've got this right, up to London Book Fair. And I said, okay. I said, actually, no, if anybody actually likes them, don't, because you can leave them a set, so don't take yours. I'll give you a set to take. And that's what happened, wasn't it?
And you brought me the new set that you had just updated.
Oh, of course, yes. Of course.
And I just looked at you and I said, I need your cards, because it was such a strong intuition.
Yes.
And it hadn't come from me. I got this message of, you need to take a card to the London Book Fair. So, and then you said, oh, I happen to have a new box with me.
Mm.
So I took it. And the rest is history, because, of course, now this is interesting. Yeah, and this is how spirit works, because I had a meeting with a different publisher, but I got the times mixed up, and I ended up walking up to Watkins. I just felt a pull.
Because you knew Watkins as publishers anyway, didn't you? You already knew.
I did know them. I'd interviewed a few of their authors for a couple of the Outer Limits and another radio show that I had done previously. So when I showed them to Jo at the time, she just loved them, and that was it.
It It was. It
Yeah.
was. Now, what's really, really interesting. So obviously Joe left, and then you've got all the hoops to jump through when you, because to get a publishing deal, as you and I both know, is so hard today.
Yes.
And to go in cold without an official agent, and they don't have open season, as it were. They have certain
No.
points in the year that you can apply, and 99.9% go in the bin. This is my opinion. Obviously, you know much more because of the
No,
industry.
it's totally true. It's
Yeah.
really hard. It's very challenging, and I think even more so now to get a trade publishing deal.
Yeah. And so this time, now what I came up with my timeline yesterday, I think it was yesterday.
Yeah.
There's a photograph of me doing a selfie, which I don't do very often, on my Facebook page. Wish me luck. I'm about to embark on the biggest, most important interview of my entire career, because that was my interview with Joe and getting my contract finalised, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
from you showing Joe the cards in mid-March last year to her giving me a contract, it was actually the 24th or 25th of May. And
Yes.
and I was, when the contract came through, and I hold you fully responsible for this. When the contract came through, I was on holiday in Miami, and Naz rang me and said, Joe's going to offer you a contract. Apart from that, I screamed the entire hotel down. I was by the pool at the time. It was 10 o'clock in the morning in the States. And I was shaking. I was shaking from head to foot. I said to Kev, I need a really, really strong drink and a fag. And I hadn't smoked for about 5 years. And I'm now back on the fags. But I was absolutely shaking from head to foot. The Dragons had always said to me, you will publish this and you will get a publishing deal. This is way, way back. And so I let go of it, and as you have to with these things, and it would just unfold as it needed to. So yes,
Totally. And I like what you just said about you have an idea. It's like putting in your order for the universe.
completely.
But one of the things you have to do is you have to let go of it, because your mind is going to try and take over to try and figure out how and when it should be done. And this is you getting in your own way. This is ego at work. So when you have a message or something you really want to manifest, it's about putting your order in, then stepping away from it.
Yeah, you can't control it in any way. And I know when you sort of first rang me and said that Joe's interested, I spent so it's March, April, and May. I was like a cat on a hot tin roof, and I kept let go of it, Caroline. Let go of it, Caroline. It's just stop. Then I'd forget about it. Then I'd wake up in the night thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Oh, I so want this. No, I'm too scared. I don't want it. And I was yo-yoing. It's like a pendulum between all these different emotions. Well, bless her, poor Naz. The phone calls, Naz, I'm so scared. And what about this? No, I can't do it. And yes, I can. No, I can't.
Well, that's our human counterpart acting out, because we, again, the way that our ego and we have constructed this idea and identity is very limited, and we can't often see beyond that to our natural greatness, and that's every single one on this planet. You can't see beyond your greatness, and when we can't see beyond our greatness, we construct an identity that feels we have to manipulate and control our environment in whatever shape or form that is. And manipulate and control others sometimes.
And often it's unconscious, isn't it? Because because the Dragons talk about being present and just being. And of course, and when we can be centered, we can be still, we can be grounded. Of course, then all that need for control dissipates, doesn't it?
Yeah, because you realize that the moment you are in is absolutely perfect, and there is nothing for you to do apart from enjoy the moment you are in.
Completely.
And I think that's even more so these days, for us to enjoy our life as it is. I think a lot of us are future thinkers. I'll feel happy when, it will be better when. But
Mm.
that's, again, your mind. Your mind is never satisfied.
No.
It's always looking for the next thing, the better thing, the
Yeah.
bigger thing. And that's just a habit we formed.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's, life is a journey, not the destination, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? Now, there's something else I've just thought about. What was I going to say to you? So going back to the cards, so publishing deal. So the cards are being relaunched and rebranded in October 2020. They come out on 13th of October. They are available for pre-order on Amazon at the minute. But yeah, so they're being all prettied up, the box, everything else, and they've had a bit of a rewrite to do. And that was what I was going to say to you. What this has done for me, this process with Watkins, obviously I was absolutely terrified. I know we had conversations about this. I don't know if I can do it. I'm not good enough. I've been through such a myriad of emotions and failure and putting my head over the parapet, and is it a one-trick pony? All of these doubts and fears, all that, back to that ego stuff we were talking about earlier, all came to the surface. Every single, the imposter syndrome, and it permeated every aspect of my life. It was massive, that everything that came up to the top. And as I've gone through the process, and what's fantastic about working with editors and copy editors and all this kind of thing, is they guide you all the way through. And I think what I've found, and this is very personal to me, that I have grown so much in the last 5 months of having to go back through my work, of go back through the guidebook that goes with the cards, and actually believe that I actually created this. And there were 2 dragons that needed some work, because I knew when I went to first print they weren't quite right, but I was running out of time, and they said to me, send them through because it's right for now, but there is something else to be added, and that can be done at a later date. So of course I knew then again that there'd be a second rewrite or a partial rewrite of a couple of the dragons in the book. And so I've actually grown in, I suppose, belief in myself and my work. But it is such an emotional roller coaster. And we've talked about putting your head above the parapet and publishing and talking about things that are slightly off piste, haven't we? So yeah, it's been, and I think now I'm much happier and much more confident in my work than I was a year ago. A year ago, I was having a complete and utter meltdown. I was going from highs to complete crashing. So in just 12 months, I'm in a completely different space and place with my work. And I don't think I've ever been quite as comfortable with my work and myself as I am now. I'm nearly 54, for goodness. I'm 54 in 2 weeks' time. And it's taken me all these years to actually get to this point of actually I am comfortable and competent with what I do. And I'm human, I have self-doubt and whatever, but that's we've been
Yeah,
through
but the thing is also, Caroline, your journey, nothing is separate. And
no.
so the journey that you have been on to get you to this space, you wouldn't be the you currently are without the other experiences.
Of course.
And that's the beauty about the human spirit.
Yeah,
Our
absolutely.
ability for compassion for our ego, compassion for when we self-doubt, and the consciousness for me is pure love. But I don't even want to call it pure love. It's more than that. It's a complete total acceptance.
Yes.
And an awareness more of who you are. And so when I mean growth, I don't mean better.
No.
When I say that we grow, we expand more into who we really are.
Yes.
And that can be challenging because maybe the idea that we have of ourselves and our life is comfortable. And it's easier to blame others or blame situations or blame. Then you won't be faced with actually, I could step outside of everything that I know and take a chance or try this or try that. we humans we're very habituated
Yeah.
to, and then we get comfortable.
Yeah.
So
The
you've
dragons call it playing small.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And the possibilities of you, I feel, are the adventure. The possibilities of us,
Yeah.
that's the real adventure.
Yeah.
And as you say, it is the destination.
Mm.
Not the destination, it is the journey. The destination is the icing on the cake, if you like.
Absolutely.
But I have to say, I do like icing.
Of course. But yeah, because I went through, I went through so many emotions last year, and it is that definite. I really feel, because I was quite, and I said to you, didn't I, at one point, I don't know if I want to take it. I don't know if I want to take this deal. And you said to me, for God's sake, it's an opportunity of a lifetime. You can't, you can do what you like, but consider all your options. Because I was going into complete fear, because I wanted to stay in my cage. My cage was safe. I knew it. I knew where I was. I knew what I was doing. And I had complete control of it. And I had to relinquish my control to a third party that I didn't know what they were going to do with it. I didn't know them. I didn't have the relationship with them. I was terrified they were going to pull my work to pieces. All this kind of stuff. And I had so many fears. But having gone through it, my God, what a supportive and amazing journey it's been. And I felt that I have flown that cage, and feeling much better for it. I've got to, in short.
Very good. Well, yeah, and we learn from others as well. I think when you bring creative minds together, it's almost like you're bringing aspects of consciousness together, the fragments of different elements of consciousness together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not just people. Everybody has this talent and ability and gift. And when you work together with a group of people, it's amazing what you can spark off of each other and what
always
comes from it. Collaboration is, for me, is always preferable.
Because you get the input of maybe 2 or 3 or however many people together, and the inspiration that comes is like fireworks going off, isn't it? It's fabulous.
Yeah, totally. And of course, you've got to make sure the relationship and the energy between the group it works, because sometimes it won't work.
No, if the dynamics are wrong, it goes the other way, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally.
Cool.
So
now we touched on just now that you're an author and you've written a couple of books. Now I believe you've got one there and some news about that one too, haven't you?
Well, the same day that we gave in, now this is where my ego came in, the same day that I gave your cards in, I kind of sheepishly just said, oh, well, maybe you want to look at this one as well. And it was almost like the poor relative. It was so funny how I wrote this book at the start of 2018. It came out. I can't believe it, and I just felt moved to write about power animals, because they, for me, they're very central to my life and my experiences. So I wrote this little book, and I handed it over like it was the poor cousin.
Oh, bless you.
Which was really fascinating, because I thought, oh, it's all been done before. And again, that's ego at work, where it's easy to discount oneself. So I was really pleased and surprised that it wasn't taken on by Watkins, but when Joe went, it was taken on by Trigger. Trigger Publishing really wanted to publish it. And so it's now gone from being a self-published book and from an indie author to being somebody who is being traditionally published. But
now, is your first book of being traditionally published?
My first book, The Laid Back Guide to Exams and Stress, was self-published.
Right.
And that was an interesting experience. And I worked with another a self-publishing company, which, to be fair, and this is one thing you have to be aware of when you're self-publishing, of learning to work with people with integrity. Yeah. So I didn't know the publishing market or the self-publishing market, and we went with a self-publisher where, let's just say, the relationship wasn't that great. Basically, you have got to be really mindful of being treated fairly. But anyway, that was the first bit. But it did inspire me to set up my own self-publishing company.
You work with a lady at the moment, aren't you?
Sorry?
Working with a lady at the moment, aren't you?
It was called Vision Maker Press, and it kind of ran for 2 years. I published 5 authors.
Okay.
Because we didn't, I wanted them to have a really good experience of being self-published. Right. And it ran for 2 years. And this is one of the books that I decided to self-publish this under Vision Maker Press as well. So, yeah, from self-published to being published. Again, it was, I had a feeling when I wrote this book, there was a little niggle of, it might get, and I kind of put it out there to the universe, and not realizing, when it wasn't taken up by, Watkins, and I thought, it's not going to get published. And I remember we had this conversation, but it did. Another publisher picked it up. And that's what I mean about when you're putting in your order, it's not going to happen in the way you think it's going to happen.
No.
Because your mind can't imagine the possibilities out there. It is limited. The mind's limited to what we know. So, I'm really pleased. That's coming out in 2021. It's a completely different book. It's a complete rewrite. And there are a lot of additional information in there about power animals, about how to work with them. It also has stuff about your shadow animal, and also how to work with your power animals and your chakras as well. So it's been, I'm really, really pleased about that. And, I'm also working on my first novel. So there you go.
Oh, exciting stuff. So it's funny, we're running parallel, aren't we? Because we're both writing. You're writing your first novel. I'm writing Living with Dragons. We've both got publishing deals. It's funny how, isn't it, the universe puts people together and you have parallel lives almost.
I think you do. Yes, absolutely. And you're right, we are running parallel, because I remember speaking to you, and I had, obviously, I'll say this to everybody who's listening, when you start working with Caroline and dragons, don't be surprised if you have one land right in your lap when you're least expecting it.
Yes, I've just written about that in the book, actually, from our conversation a week or so ago. I've written about that in the book, actually. I hope you don't mind.
Not at all. And it's really interesting because, going back to the dragons, I was sitting here, and it happens again when you're not, meditation is a great way to get centered and feel your guides, your power animals, your dragons. But also they can drop in when you're not doing any of that. And this is what happened to me, my experience. I was busy, switching the computer on, about to get down to writing, and then I felt this presence, and it was so powerful. I was dizzy, I was sick, and I knew there was something coming in, and I just thought, okay, and it just said dragon, and I just thought, oh goodness. And then I got all these things from the dragon, and one word that I got was matuba. And that's really interesting, because when I looked it up, matuba is Congolese for words. And I remember calling you up. I was completely off kilter. Yeah. And as you said, my energy was off because I'd just been hit by a dragon. It was like, what the heck? And it's really strange. You have to experience it to understand what it does to you.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even looking for that. I was busy getting on with my own thing.
They are naughty like that. They can be very naughty like that.
Oh.
But they wanted your attention, obviously.
Yes, and it's you know, to really, I think when we're writing anything, and this is to any writer, you're going to judge yourself, you're going to compare yourself,
Mm.
all of this stuff about not being good enough.
Oh, yeah.
It's been done before.
Yeah.
Why would anybody read what you have to say? What is particularly unique about what you have to
Mm.
say? And I think we so underestimate ourselves
Yeah.
and the impact we have on other people,
Yeah. Yeah.
because our mind is so self-critical. We've been taught to be self-critical
Yeah.
of ourselves,
Yeah.
and in a way our mind, our ego, our sense of identity is a bit scared because and feeling vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's desperately trying to keep us safe in the only way that it knows.
Absolutely.
And that's where your level of compassion, you know, and it's okay, we will all go there from time to time. That's part, I feel, of our human journey.
It
And I
is.
think it's important for us to go there, because if we don't go there, we will not have compassion for other people,
Mm.
or even ourselves.
And the
And
thing
you're
is, the
right.
compassion's got to start with ourselves, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, last week it was yeah, it was mental health, but when people have been talking about kindness suddenly is the new buzzword. And that's great. I think it's a wonderful place to start. But I found it really interesting when I looked at this definition on Twitter, and kindness is about doing things for other people. Well, no, kindness needs to start with yourself. If it doesn't start with yourself, because I don't know if you've noticed, when you're unkind to yourself, you tend to be unkind to other people, because
Yeah.
you'll treat others how you treat yourself.
Always. I agree.
Yeah, we have to learn that kindness, that compassion, because if we can feel kindness and compassion for ourselves, and we're probably the last people that we will feel compassionate for.
Yeah.
But and that's why ego is so essential. It's so essential in our existence, and trying to transcend ego is the height of spiritual gaslighting, bypassing, and arrogance.
Oh. Oh, is
Yeah,
this the love and light lot?
it is the love and light.
Like,
It is.
and now, if you're offended by love, if no, you're offended by the phrase "love and light lot," Naz and I've had long conversations about this, and it has its place. But we've also, and Naz, I'm sure will agree with me, that it is used to not look at the depth of yourself and looking at and accepting the shadow, because we've all got a shadow side. You cannot remove your shadow. The only person that could was Peter Pan. You know, let's be real here.
Totally. Yeah, and it's the height of dishonesty. You're not being honest with yourself.
No.
We all have bad thoughts. We all have thoughts. Well, we all have thoughts that we judge as bad or are ashamed of.
And there's the shame. It's the shame that is the trigger for a lot of shadow stuff, isn't it? The shame is
Yeah.
a big one for so many people.
We don't want to feel it.
No, because we're embarrassed by it, or we
Yeah.
feel guilty by it, you know. And I think again, it's that being that complete, that wholeness, and that integrity and truth of who we are. We have a shadow side, and yeah, we do want to bitch about somebody, and yes, somebody is a pain in the bloody ass, or we want to whatever, but we can't go through life being all pious and love and light. Look, without God Christ, well, he wasn't pious, but you know, it doesn't do you any good, does it?
No, I mean, and going back to Jesus Christ, he was a compassionate man.
Totally.
You know, he was there for everybody. It wasn't only the, you know, what he saw as light. That's part of the compassion
Yeah.
of that energy.
Yeah.
And honesty is so important.
And it's
um
got to start with the self.
yeah, it's being honest with yourself about what you really feel.
Yes.
And yeah, your human, your ego, your shouldas, wouldas, couldas
Yeah,
will
that.
interrupt. But there's no point in stuffing what you're really thinking inside, because people will see it and you won't experience the whole of you,
No.
and you won't experience compassion. And it's a lack of compassion for self that I feel sometimes, not always, but sometimes when I look at people just use love and light as a, like, sprinkling some dust, like it's going to make it all better, rather than being honest with each other and with ourselves. It's really important, and that's where all the spiritual bypassing, the spiritual gaslighting, the, you know, and look, this is just my opinion. There'll be other opinions out there.
Of course, I'd love to hear them, whatever your opinions are, guys. If you're watching, if you've stayed with us this long, I'd love to know what your opinion is. And what my guys have just said to me, what do they just? I hate it when they say something and it disappears from my mind. I'll carry on now. Sorry, it's gone. Whatever.
Well, yeah, I think we're moving into, honesty is the is it honesty is the best policy? I know it's a cliche, but you know, it allows you to. It's almost a sense of acceptance of who you are, and in acceptance, I find this idea that I find when I accept things about myself, without judging myself for being that way, I don't suffer as much.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, you know, our thoughts, we suffer from these thoughts that we have. They say, don't they, that we have about between 60 and 80,000 thoughts a day.
Gosh.
Most of those thoughts, or most of the thoughts are repetitive, and about 80% of them are negative. So you have got this. Whoever you are, wherever you are, this is the core programming.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
And
of course.
It's not that you have to get rid of it. It's just as soon as you notice it's there, it's fine.
Yeah.
And being kind to yourself when you are feeling scared, when all of your stuff comes up.
Yeah, absolutely. Now something else I want to talk about, changing off, see, because we do this, don't we? We go off on complete tangents, don't we? So if we have got anybody with us that is looking at getting a book published or self-publishing, have you got any advice for them?
Well, the first thing I would say is write your book. You can't edit a blank page. Jodi Piccolo's famous line. But you know, so the first thing is to write your book. I would leave the self-publishing to one side, but the first thing is to write it. With regards to self-publishing, you know, you whether you're self-publishing or traditionally published, you need to build a readership and a following, and that will come over time. It's really important that you get seen. It's just as important to market your book. So start now. If you're even thinking about writing a book, first write about what fills your heart, what motivates you, what you really want to write, rather than what you think will get you published.
Right, so write from the heart rather than the mind.
Yeah, totally. And your first draft is always about writing from the heart. And then your second draft is structuring it with the mind for the market. So the first thing is write from the heart, get it down, don't edit, get to the end. That's the first premise, get to the end. And then look at what's going to work for you. If you are looking at traditional publishing, the first thing they will look at is your social media. Because for a traditional publisher, they are investing a lot of money in you as an author. They have to make sure that they can get a return on investment.
So it all comes down to money at the end of the day, doesn't it? It's all down to pounds, shillings and pence.
Absolutely. But even as you know, Caroline, when you're self-publishing, it's not cheap.
No.
So you have to decide and have a strategy of how you're going to make that money back. Might be that's not what you want to do. You might just want to self-publish for the sake of writing a book, and that's great. That's brilliant. So decide why, first of all, you want to write a book, and is it just for your friends or family? Is it for just yourself? Is it so you can create a business? As soon as you're an author, you're creating a business. You know, you've got a commodity to sell. And that might not be a sexy or romantic way of looking at it, but you have to start thinking in those terms.
Yeah.
Twitter is a great place to be, to join with the writing community. They're super supportive. Writers are readers, build relationships, learn from others. So build a community and work with writers. I find I'm so inspired by other writers, and particularly on days when I don't feel motivated to sit at the computer and write. I just have to go on Twitter and look at what people are doing, and that galvanizes me to think, yeah, I've got this. I really want to do this. So, yeah, and if you want to look at traditional publishing route, you have to, publishers look at one, and this is non-fiction, not fiction, this is non-fiction. For non-fiction, you have to, publishers can look at your social media. They're going to see if you are active in the subject you are writing about. Are you an expert? Is it your business? Are you running workshops, etc.? So they'll look at both of those things. If you're self-publishing, I had a really interesting question on Twitter. Was, do you reckon spending just $100 on an editor is enough for a 30,000 K book? And yeah, exactly. It's jaw dropping. You've spent this time writing this book. Now you might think it's perfect, but you need a second set of eyes on it. Get a good editor. Invest in an editor. And they don't just look at your grammar and punctuation. They also will be able to help you shape your book. A good editor will have this, and you'll know this from the work you've done with your editors. They really are super supportive. They know the market. They know the threads. A good editor will find the thread of your book.
Yeah.
So invest in editing, and spend time learning about different ways of marketing. That might well help you. So that's my advice.
Absolutely.
Or tips.
Yeah. Absolutely. And and getting and it's because don't traditional publishers have like 1 week a year where they will take unsolicited manuscripts? Is that right, or does that not happen now?
All of them, not all of them. Some of them will. So, for example, if you're looking at spirit publishing, I know Hay House has something that you can go for. If you look on their website and look at the opportunities there, it's a workshop. You can send some of your stuff in. Penguin do so as well if you've never been published. So look at each publishing house. Some will accept solicited manuscripts at certain times of the year. Some won't. Some will want you to have an agent. And here's the other thing about an agent. A good agent doesn't just sit there and find you a publisher. They are there to help you shape your book as well. And so they're there to support you with that.
So are they writers as well then, agents?
They will be. A good agent will be able to look at it and edit it, or find the thread through it.
Okay.
And they'll also find the best deals for you. Look at the contract, and what else with a good agent do? They'll work with you on the book proposal, a bit like how we worked on the book proposal.
Yeah,
they won't want you to do all the hard work. That's what your agent is there for.
Oh, okay.
And to offer you your advice. So yeah, if you're looking for an agent, you can approach an agent first of all, but again, you've got to make sure your numbers are up, because agents will not look twice at anybody who they feel they won't be able to approach a publisher with.
So you're saying you're talking about numbers, so you're talking sort of social media, Twitter, Instagram and Facebook are the three main ones, aren't they? So as a ballpark to getting even considered for a publishing deal, what are editors and publishing houses or agents looking for numbers wise? Any idea?
Oh, I would look at 20K and up, unless your book, for Twitter, definitely. Instagram, 15K is okay.
Well, 15,000 followers?
Yeah.
What people will consider you?
Sorry, yeah.
Wow.
And Facebook the same. I mean, you're an exception, Caroline, and this is
Blimey. I would have, blimey, yes. I had
so.
700 followers or 800 followers when Joe took my book on.
But yeah, it's not that these deals can't happen.
No, of course.
They
Proof of it.
are just exactly. They are just so super rare. They're super super rare unless you have something totally unique, which is the next thing.
Yeah.
That's when it might be considered. But
Blimey.
yes, so here you can see how the dragons really had a hand in having things unfold as they did.
Yeah.
Or the universe or whatever it is people are looking at, it really is when you put your order in. And this is for me what I love about manifestation. When you put your order in and get out of your own way and carry on with your day-to-day life, you will watch it, it will do its own thing.
Yeah.
You are not more powerful than the universe.
No.
But on a more grounded level, your deal was very, very, it's very hard to have a deal like that, to get a deal like that.
Yeah, hen's teeth. Because I'd only just started on Instagram, and I think I had, I don't know, 100 followers or something. I didn't really do Instagram. Facebook had got up to about I think it's about 700. Okay, it's over 1,500 now. So in the last year, it's doubled. So I'm picking up about 700 people a year. So if you want to follow me on Facebook, please do. But Twitter, I don't do. I sort of pick up some of your stuff on Twitter, but I don't do Twitter. And obviously I do YouTube. I think I'd only just, I don't know if I'd even started YouTube this time last year. I might have just started sort of pilfering in YouTube this time last year. So yeah, it is incredibly rare. But the dragon said to me 15 years ago that this would all happen. But it took me 15 years to get even to the point, I think 13 years to even think about even publishing and going self-publishing and looking at all that kind of stuff and trying to find an artist. And well, they gave me Tyrus, they found me Tyrus. And that was a whole story on its own. But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It is quite a journey.
It is quite a journey. And the other thing I'll say with social media, pick one that you really enjoy.
Yeah.
If you hate social media, then it's going to be really telling in your posts. If you engage, so look at a platform that works for you. I really love Twitter because I'm engaged with the writers there, with other people that I follow there, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So it's one that I really, really enjoy.
Yeah, see, mine's Facebook. I have a love-hate relationship with Facebook. But actually, it's where my tribe are. My dragon tribe's on Facebook, and that's where they are. And I'm gradually building. I think I've got 80 followers here on YouTube. So if you want to subscribe and follow me, I'd love you forever and be a part of my tribe. But yeah, so my main one is Facebook, and then I'm sort of bringing YouTube up. But that takes a lot of effort and a lot of time to bring YouTube up. And your social media is very much, you've got to keep at it, and you have got to enjoy it, haven't you?
Oh, of course, and that's why I tend to do a lot of my work on Twitter, because that's what I really, really enjoy.
Yeah.
I will post. I do have a Facebook page on. Naz Author is my Facebook page. I'll use that occasionally. I do have an Instagram account, but really a lot of my work takes place on Twitter. I found it really easy to start growing a following, if you like, and you have to invest in that as well. So yeah, it's not an easy route, but it's not an impossible route. And I think don't let it put you off. If you really have a book that you want to write that you are being called to write, then just write it. That to me is the most important thing. Just go for it. Or if you've got a set of oracle cards or whatever it is that you have, just do it.
Totally. Well, I think that's probably us more or less wrapped up, isn't it?
It is indeed.
So what I will do is I'll put your links for Twitter and Facebook and whatever into my comments thing when I put this onto YouTube.
Perfect. And
And
people can find me on the on my website as well. So
okay. Now, very lastly, actually, before we go, you also help support writers, don't you? Because you do. Are you still doing them, the workshops and things?
I'm not doing them virtually at the moment, but I have been, I have supported writers in learning how to structure and plan their books. And I'm also currently working with a lovely lady in Africa who is writing her memoir. She is a conservationist and a vet. I'm not, and I felt very moved to be her agent.
Fantastic.
So yeah.
So when that's done, do you think that you will go back and do some more workshops for writers? Because you do these in person, don't you? You have done an age.
I do them in person, and I think for me it works a lot. It works in person because, it's a very collaborative, I feel, environment of learning, working with each other. So yeah, it is something that I'm considering going back to. I think at this moment in time, though, I won't run it virtually.
No. No, I think that makes sense. We're in lockdown, aren't we? And people can't get together. So maybe in 2021, a bit of luck that you might be able to get some more workshops if people would like to come. And
yeah, that would be great. Okay. Yeah,
I'll put some links up for you, darling. Right then, Naz, thank you so much for joining us. And
it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh no, it's been always, as ever. I always learn something when I talk to you. I've been in this a while. And we never know it all, and I think the person that says they know it all, they're lying.
Oh yeah.
So everybody else that's joined us, thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed it, and until next time, we'll catch you later. Bye for now.
Bye for now. Bye.
Bye.